I'm waiting for someone to take a real strong leadership stance of saying, this is the problem we have in Canada. It is A, B, C, D, right? It's beyond all that. And here's not just headlines of what we're going to do, here's how we're going to do it. Like, I think that message is still missing. The potential that Canada has is insane. There's no reason that we are in the position that we should be, except for poor leadership year over year over year.
I want to see us do well. Like, I want to see Mark Carney succeed, because if he succeeds, we succeed. But I'm just not seeing it.
I couldn't care less who's in office. You just want to see a better country where people can live better lives.
Citizens, great to have you guys.
Welcome back. Good to have everybody here.
It's a beautiful, happy Good Friday to everybody.
Yep.
It is, I hope you're enjoying the start of a long weekend, enjoying time with family. It's a wonderful weekend for us, so going to enjoy it.
Snow covered again. Calgary. False spring after false spring.
Yeah. For the rest of Canada, Calgary has the most erratic weather.
It is.
By far. We had plus 18 in January and February and March at times. And then all of a sudden you think you're there, you're ready to go golfing. And then we get 10 centimeters of snow.
And then it's melted in a day. And then you get it again. Anyway, over and over again.
Let's not start the show complaining, though. Let's start on a positive note. Let's bring our friend in right away.
Yeah.
Josh Udall from the Elevate Report, east side of Canada, all the way in Halifax.
Yep.
5-hour flight from where we are. How are you doing? Welcome, our new friend to the show. What's going on?
Oh, it's going good, man. Life's good. Can't complain. Can't not complain.
You got nothing to complain about? That's good, man. I love it.
I complain off daily over here. I just try to keep it positive when I can, because we're going back to the freaking moon, baby.
No, we're flying past the moon, but
around the moon.
But it's good. It's something.
We're going to look at the moon. It's Apollo 13.
It's exactly
without
it's
the potential horrible catastrophe that they avoided.
You had to go there, but
I was going to say this is probably not. It's not a good omen if I'm going there right away. I heard their toilet's malfunctioning. Did you guys hear that? Yeah,
is that true?
That was like the biggest problem.
Horrible
in the first couple hours after launch, apparently there's one toilet and it was having an issue.
What's the name of the mission? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's Artemis. Is that
David said Artemis right before he started? I was like, what?
And like, emphasize the T as much as
I know. Artemis. I was like, Artemis? And anyway, I just laughed. So it's
Josh, what is it called, Josh?
I say Artemis.
Okay, Artemis.
I you know what? I think I have a theory right now, folks.
Yes, sir.
And this is it. That kid with the NASA hat that was super pumped about the idea that we're going back to the moon, baby.
Yep.
He's the one who messed with the toilet, 100%.
He got on there?
Yeah.
There was a video of that. Yeah. That is a horrible thing to have malfunction. Like, good Lord, help them.
He climbed up the rig and he got all the way up there.
Yeah.
Trying to look up. That was pretty impressive, though.
Yeah, it was cool.
Amazing moment to see astronauts going back.
Elon spoiled us, though. When the camera feeds are from the ground, I was like, what is this? Why don't we have like 14 camera views like Elon does whenever he does a SpaceX launch? You got like the camera that shows the rockets, and then you have and I was like, where's all the views? I'm like, we're spoiled. But because it was just a camera on the ground watching this dot infinitely go into the sky, I'm like, that's it? Give us more. Come on. And then they did a 3D digital rendering. I'm like, this is horrible. I'm like, what's wrong with this?
Well, Elon's next level, though.
Yeah, he is.
With, is it really, question, guys, is it very special, though? Is it because Elon launches rockets and he says we're going to be launching 10 times the amount of rockets we are in 3 years?
It's the distance they're going with people. Like
that's right.
That's the variable. Like it's pretty wild, actually. They're doing a few laps around the Earth to kind of get the speed, I guess, to get to the moon.
Yeah. And
then do a flyby on the moon. It'll be pretty cool.
I love that space exploration is progressing forward.
Yeah.
We can all thank Elon to that.
Although it was weird that it was on April 1st. I was expecting a giant, fake, just kidding. Like, it was really weird. I'm like, why are they doing this on April 1st? You actually posted on our social account.
No, I thought it was you.
Really?
It wasn't me.
No, it was me.
Who posted it on our
It was a great post. I laughed hard because I was like,
maybe it was Josh.
Yeah,
somehow it got in.
Yeah, who knows?
That was it. 100%.
Oh, it was Paulie.
Mr.
Okay.
Paul.
Yeah,
Mr.
he
Paul.
did a whole conspiracy thing about
fantastic.
The April Fool's guys.
Conspiracy theorists watching on April 1st.
Anyways, that's great. We got that going. I'm happy to be watching them. Do you know how long the total mission is?
I have no idea. No.
Okay.
I can find out.
Anyways, enough about that. I want to talk about you, Josh, and what's going on in Halifax and Eastern Canada. The Elevate Report, for those of you who aren't familiar with him, go ahead and take a follow. All the information will be on the bottom of YouTube. You can catch him on YouTube, Instagram. I'm sure most socials and podcasts are available. Been liking your stuff a lot lately. We got onto you probably in the last 6 months, we had a couple friends say, hey, you got to just check out what he's doing. I appreciate your opinion. To be honest, I think you're pretty level-headed. You're not just coming at it from one side to dog people, but you're trying to be objective, and you got some good flair to it. But tell us a little bit about what you're doing and why.
Great question. Why am I doing this? That's what we all want to know at this point in time. It's life has changed so much over the past, like specifically over the past 6 years or so. It was slowly changing up until 2020, and then just looks like we just went on a speed run. It seems like we want to throw all the change at you all the time. And I don't know if you felt this way. Actually, this is where the change I felt like really started to shift. Was we go back to 2015 when Justin Trudeau said, because it's 2015. When that happened, why his cabinet was 50% men, 50% women. Shortly after that, then Donald Trump then got elected into the United States. And I remember leading up to the Trump election, it was just chaotic. It was very chaotic. It was just Trump on this, Trump. I remember I was at Good Life Fitness, just working out, and every TV was about Trump. And I was like, holy crap, man. I remember thinking to myself, looking at these TV monitors as we're going into the election, I was like, man, I cannot wait when the election is next week. This will be done, and I can just forget about all this. And it'll go back to what things were like. It's crazy going up to an election. Then it just all kind of, the politicians leave you alone for 4 years, and they come back when they want your vote. Yep. And I was expecting that. So election happens. I went to bed. I wake up at 6 a.m. and I was like, holy crap, Trump won. That's crazy. I thought this guy was done. And then that's when the chaos ensued for me, where it was just like constant, just like, you should hate this guy. He's the worst. And then I felt like that then transcended into our politics here in Canada. And then it just went in 2020, where it just felt like you couldn't get away from it. Mm-hmm. And I started a podcast in 2020, not doing this. I hate politics. This thing sucks. Politics are the worst. Yeah. And it brings the worst out in people. It's not fun. People lose their friendships, relationships, divorces happen. It's terrible. Yeah. And I would rather not talk about it. I'd rather talk about things that make me feel good, if I'm being quite honest with you. Yep. But alas, here we are. I started a show talking about business, marketing, design, and bringing on people onto my show, similar to what you guys do. Bringing people on to kind of get their different perspectives and how to start businesses and this, that, the other. And then as kind of things went on through COVID and Convoy, and I started talking a bit more about it, then people started tuning in more. I was like, hey, we like your opinions about politics. And I was like, well, I'm just a guy just talking about politics here. I'm not a journalist. I'm not even a political commentator, for goodness sakes. I'm just a guy who has an opinion. And people kept tuning in for that. And that's kind of where we got to where we are now, and this is why I'm doing it, is I just really, I'm Canadian through and through, if I'm being quite honest with you. I love my country, even in the deepest, darkest depths that it's in right now. I love my country. And I can't just sit back and watch it just wither away with these horrendous policies. And so if my platform and what I do can help kind of steer us back in direction, get people feeling like they're not alone, that they can organize and move forward and push back against what we're currently witnessing and seeing, dang straight, I want to be a part of that. And that's the show. And that's why I do what I do. And you said at the beginning of the show, where it's like, I love how you semi-qualified. You're just like, you seem pretty level-headed. And I was like, that is true. I'm like not quite level-headed, but I'm almost there.
We all got our little dents in our features, right?
But the way I like to say it is I'm very straight and honest about how I am very, very biased. 100% biased. Yeah. I'm a conservative. I lean right. I'll be honest. However, I will always strive to be fair.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to do.
Well, that's the key. There's nothing wrong with having based off your values, where you land, what side of the aisle you tend to lean towards. But there is this lack of intellectual honesty that comes, and also this idea of being partisan for the sake of being partisan, is that we try our best. If liberals are doing bad stuff and we think it's dumb, we're going to talk about it and call it out. If conservatives are, which we have talked about stuff that we think they've messed up and opportunities and all that, we're going to call it out. And that's the thing, is ultimately we're striving for the best outcome of whichever way. That's at least our take on it, is striving for the best outcome, and you got to judge each thing according to its merit. So
that's exactly it. Like, that's why the show is called Citizen, is that's why it's refreshing to watch someone like yourself, like ourselves, who are we're just nobodies with opinions, who are real citizens that have tax-paying dollars going into the system, who have thoughts, who have ideas that we want to see. And so that's I think we're all, like what you said about the 2015, 2016 shift, all these professional politicians, we're just all kind of sick of it. Like, it's like, we don't believe I think that's why Trump got elected, was because he's not a politician. He's just, if he thinks it, he says it. It's also, it's a blessing and a curse for him, obviously. And CNN has been blessed by it for their ratings, that's for sure. But I do think that's why he got voted in, was because it was just a regular thinking person. Obviously, I know he's not a regular guy. He's a billionaire and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at least you knew what you were getting because he said it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's. I want to get to great thoughts, Josh. I want to get to a little bit right now on Pierre Poilievre, leader of the opposition. We know he's been making his rounds. Joe Rogan podcast a couple of weeks back. Several others he's been doing as of yesterday. He was on what's the name of the podcast again with Stephen Bartlett?
Diary of the CEO.
Diary of a CEO, which is a massive one. And we haven't had a lot of chance to review it, but I wanted to show a clip for a second. And producers...
I've watched almost half of it.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to come and have this conversation with me and answering all of my questions. I don't like interviewing politicians because they are very slippery.
Right.
And they slip and slide away from answering things in a way that makes the very essence of why we started this show feel like we're not delivering for the audience who want to know the truth, whether it's ugly or indifferent or whatever it might be. And I've really enjoyed the conversation because I feel like you answered my questions to the best of your ability.
Thank you.
And that's not usually the case with politicians. And
thank you.
I think they think that's the right approach. But actually, I think in a world that's now more of a glass box than ever before, and not a black box where you can paint the image of something on the outside, being transparent and being willing to come into these environments. And your team didn't tell me anything was off limits. They didn't say there was anything I couldn't ask you.
Right.
They didn't ask to be able to edit this. And I would like more politicians to follow in that vein.
Transparency, real people. Don't show us the politician. Show us the man. Show us the citizen, the woman, whoever you are as a politician. Show us who you are and be authentic. And I think that's what's nice about this was the authenticity that's coming through. Like I said, I'm only about an hour through. But in the comments, though, I got to say this, and I'm very curious if you guys are experiencing the same thing. I swear the comments are just littered with bots. And the reason I say that is all of a sudden I click on it and I go in the comments and the comments are just like, he's not our leader. He doesn't represent us. How about we get Mark Carney in? And this is all one person. This is one comment. Get Mark Carney in this chair. He's our real leader, leading us through the storm, the best affordability we've ever had. Like, it's like the politician handed them talking points and was like, write these down in the comments. I'm like, what? And it was like person after person. And then you click on them, they have no posts, they have no followers. And I mean, I clicked on 30 and I was going, okay, these are obviously bots because I'm going, they're not real people talking. And so that concerns me too. Because again, it's kind of the same concept of the news kind of doing their thing. But they're doing it in the comment lines of social media where we are arguing with bots because I'm going, good Lord, let us actually have a space where we can dialogue and actually talk as citizens because I think it's refreshing to see what Pierre is doing.
Well, Josh, I'm curious onto your thoughts on him making his rounds. Obviously, he's doing well. Love to hear how you think that. But is it too little, too late? Did they miss the mark not doing this in February, March, or do you think this can actually help move the needle of how he's viewed and how conservatives are viewed in Canada? What's your thoughts?
Well, obviously, the question you bring up is the age-old question that everyone's been having and arguing, especially in conservative circles. And I'm kind of in this headspace of what's been done is done. I think this is good. I'll start off by saying what's done is done. It's what we're seeing right now is good. This is a good way to get in front of people that are different than what the CBC, CTVs of the world, or even shows like mine would get you in front of. Going on Joe Rogan, going on Diary of the CEO. Joe Rogan obviously kind of will tend to get a more slightly right-leaning audience, even though he's more of an independent. Diary of the CEO is more of a left-wing audience, believe it or not. And that was what I thought that was really impactful.
Yeah, for sure.
For him, I think that was, if any of them, that's going to be the interview that it really moves the needle for him, if anything. And that's one I really thought was fantastic. And when it goes back to, the strategy behind all of this goes back to, I've had this argument with a few different conservatives at this point. And when they get mad at me for saying, I think this should have been done a year ago, there's like, Josh, you don't get it. The craziness that the Liberals got everyone involved with and wrapped them up in, there was no breaking through that. No matter what he did, you weren't breaking through that. And to that, I say, I significantly disagree. The thing is, we forget what happened and how things transpired during that time. Trump was bullying Trudeau on the international stage and he couldn't handle it anymore. So he was like, I'm going home, guys. And so he then does what he does. And then not just the liberals, catch what happened. Polls weren't really trending in Trudeau's favor at that point anyways. Mm-hmm. But do you remember what the polls were saying after Trump got elected? Like all of a sudden it felt like Poilievre spiked. Like it was just like, oh, it's over for Trudeau.
Yeah.
And you look back on that and you look at what's happening to the polls today, you're just like, majority of the polling firms in this country benefit from liberal subsidies if they're in government, is what I mean.
Yep.
That showed me that the liberal establishment said, Trudeau, it's time to go. And they used every lever they could to put pressure on him to get him out and get as much of the public perspective on him to be negative. That was a lever pulled 100%, I believe, by the liberal establishment. And that really forced Trudeau to get out. And then that time takes place. Trudeau steps down and liberals are floundering. They're just like, whoa, who's going to be our leader? You hear echoes of Mark Carney. And that was the moment for Poilievre and the Conservatives to get in front of it, to get into the media, get in front of cameras, go on the diaries of the CEOs of the world, go on Joe Rogan, go on everything.
Yeah.
Get your voice out there and you set the narrative. You set what things are going to be talked about. You set the rhetoric. And they didn't do that. What they did was they got into a room with a bunch of their, the hive mind over there at the Conservative Party. They went into a room and hid for a month while they allowed the Liberals to dictate what was going to be said. And that is what was the birth of the elbows up situation we see in front of us.
Master plan. Honestly.
Exactly.
Really a master plan.
They allowed them to do it.
Yeah.
They could have taken it. And that's the thing with the Conservative Party in general. That's just been its history, is because we have a country it trends liberal. Conservatives typically get into power when the liberals get old for a bit. And that's when they get power. And that's kind of what they're hoping with here to a degree. I do agree. And I will take the point that Poilievre had an amazing, awesome platform in terms of what he wanted to do for the country. I really thought that was a good, solid platform to run on. But the reality is Conservatives we're not in the situation anymore where the Conservatives just can wait for the liberals to overstay their welcome. They have to go out and win something. They have to go and take it. And that's what I finally see Poilievre trying to do now with the appearances on these shows.
Well, I think that's a really good point. And I think that kind of leads almost into my some of the thoughts and in the experience we're having here in Alberta is that there's a majority of the country that is like on the entire east side of the country. It's like, I don't even know what percentage. I'd say it's probably 75, 80% of the country is from Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec, and so on, where the entire, there's two different complete views from the west to the east. They're different, almost feeling like different countries. We were just in Toronto, and so we're talking with a lot of people trying to get their perspectives and their views, and we're asking questions about hey, are you guys hearing much about the West? What's happening in Alberta independence? And there's just silence. No. In fact, there's even with people who have similar values as us, that would be more towards conservative, even them, they're disgusted by the thought because it doesn't even make sense to them. And so we're trying to let them know, no, this is very real. It's very big in Alberta, but that's the thing is that the West and the East are extremely polarized. And unless Poilievre wins over some of the East, it just won't happen, especially in the era of Trump. It seems like there's this, in the elbows up approach, there's this ability to attach Pierre to Trump. And that's what I think largely got him Carney in, was this they're cut from the same cloth, Trump and Pierre. And I think that's one of the mistakes is that, like you said, they hid away for a month and they really shouldn't have.
That shifted. It was actually amazing to see all the things that contributed to it actually wasn't even the fall or the collapse of the Conservatives, because they held their numbers. It was just the rise of the Liberals, and really is the collapse of the NDP, the collapse of the Bloc, Trump coming in, and really you got to give the Liberal Party credit, their campaign and the strategy they used that did work. But I agree with you, Josh. I think Pierre does so good in those long form conversations. It really is refreshing, and that's something you have to give him credit for. Is that when you sit down with him, he's a guy that you immediately like. You think that, you know what, he represents himself well. Yeah. He's very smart. He obviously, and when you were with him last week,
yep.
And you gave him a compliment about how much the grind is to actually be able to
have
all that information, to be able to pull it up, because you don't know where different interviews are going to go. And that's a lot of work, right? To know and to understand. I think, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, Josh, because to be critical of conservatives, I think they're still missing the separating themselves enough from the liberals, meaning here is a plan of what we're actually going to do to make Canada better, as opposed to, I think a lot, and this is typical in all politics, Canada, United States, whatever party it is they spend a lot of time criticizing the other one of what they're doing wrong. And I'm waiting for someone to take a real strong leadership stance of saying, here's what we're not just the typical lower taxes, blah, 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 but take a real strong stance of this is the problem we have in Canada. It is A, B, C, D, right? It's beyond all that. And here's not just headlines of what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that message is still missing. And tell me if you think differently. I know he says things like, we got to cut bureaucracy and we got to do that kind of stuff. But we've been hearing that stuff for so long. I feel like that falls on deaf ears, especially as you mentioned about 70% Eastern Canada. If you had Ontario, you had the Maritimes, and you had Quebec, you're at about 68, 70% of the population. There has to be, for a conservative government in the nature of conservative party, in the nature of our country, you have to appeal to that side a certain amount, which means you're naturally going to frustrate people who might have some differing values. Sure. So my point is, what are your thoughts? Do you think they can do more of that, or what is going to help them move the needle in our country of Canada to actually break through? Because I have one more thought. They had 42% of the vote, 41% of the vote. That was the high end of what they were predicting for the vote to come in, and it still wasn't enough.
Well, it's also the highest I think they've ever had.
Yeah, and it still wasn't enough. So that's the concern going forward. How do you overcome that, right?
Yeah. For sure. Well, I think there's a few things there when it comes to the issue of, regurgitating. I think you didn't use that word, but that's kind of what you're saying, is kind of hitting a lot of the same things. People kind of grow a blind eye to it. And it does require some very bold policy to get people's attention. One that I stand by to this day is, this is one my co-host and I were kind of thinking about, and I think it would have a huge impact, is Saskatchewan right now is doing something similar for themselves provincially. But what if you decide to come out one day big bold, and be like, anybody making less than $100,000 a year, we're cutting your income tax on.
Yeah.
Like something like that, like something that's actually going to put a dent in affordability for people. Like that will get the people going. Yeah. And I think stuff like that, I think, is good.
Well, can you imagine even Doge? If Doge came up here, is that concept? Like, did you see there was a clip sent to me yesterday of the Joe Rogan Elon interview on Doge, and Joe asked him, he said, if you had no restrictions on your cutting with Doge, how much could you have cut? And he literally goes, half of the entire administration, half of government, half. Wow. He goes, half. He's like, no joke, half. But I couldn't. We were completely restrained. And he goes, there are many, many departments that should not exist. And then Joe goes, like, what? And he goes, for example, Department of Education. He goes, Joe kind of pushes back, Department of Education. He's like, ever since it came in, our education statistics have declined. They're record low. He goes, if a department comes in and the very thing it's supposed to grow and do declines and is trending down, delete it. We were good before it, so get rid of it. And he goes, but there's too much bureaucracy. There's too much connection, too much financing. And that's where we're getting at is Canada. We don't have the economy to support the taxation. We don't have the people. We're too bloated. We're too large. The largest growing economy, you could say, is the federal government. Like there's more jobs added in the federal than ever before, and we just can't sustain this. It's wild. Sorry, a little bit of a rant on the Doge, but that's just like you said, cut the income tax or do some cutting somewhere. There has to be cutting.
Josh Udall for Prime Minister. Cutting income tax below $100K. And you're going to get 75% of the votes.
It's funny. It's like this is the strategy you have to think about. Is you have to think through what are the things that are going to first get people excited and like really see some hope for themselves. Is one. Number two is one the liberals could never touch. Anything around taxes, that's what you go after because the liberals can't do that. They can't. Even though quietly, so quietly, I love seeing this. What Do you remember what it was? Oh, I think CBC was promised $150 million last election, right? And they received it. They took that money and started hiring a bunch of new journalists on the ground. But quietly, $192 million was cut from them just recently. Huh. So all those journalists you went and hired, well, you have to let them go now.
Yeah.
But that was done quietly. I want to tell you this. This is one thing people say, oh man, Toronto, Carney's been keeps ripping off Poilievre's ideas. And yeah, buddy, Carney defunded the CBC. He defunded the CBC. It was wild to watch and no one's talking about it.
Yeah.
But that's because he's typical politician, the liberal machine. That's how they work.
Yeah.
Is they'll tell you one thing and do another because they won't get as much noise around here. If they talk about it on the biggest stage, they can do it quietly. And that's the issue. And that's why I would love to see the Conservatives get to a point. And I understand you're the official opposition. You do have to call it what's happening. 100%.
Yeah.
But give some vision. And where I saw the vision take place the best and most was Poilievre and Joe Rogan's podcast.
I agree.
Yeah.
That was a moment where I was like, whoa, it felt like a breath of fresh air. I was like, this is different. You're talking about all the same things, but it just felt hopeful. And like, oh man, I'd love to see that again. That would be awesome. And I think the thing is, Poilievre, he gets caught up in the rhyming game typically, and like, axe attacks, this,
he
that.
He loves the rhymes.
He does. And that's the thing is like people tune that out so quickly.
Yeah. Good point.
And it's like, but he said all the same things he always does, but he said it like a human in that interview. Yeah. And that was what really connected with people. And I want to see more of that moving forward. And I think we can talk about, I know we're going to get to it. We're talking about missteps. I know this situation's caused a lot of divide in the Conservative Party. And I know people are hating on me for this, but the Alto Rail line, I think was a political misstep going after that.
It's the Toronto-Montreal.
Yeah.
Conservatives coming against it.
Yeah. I was like, that's tough.
Yeah.
Just outright saying, we're just not doing it. I'm like, I get the argument. I 100% understand the argument. And I actually agree with the argument, if I'm being quite frank with you. $90 billion, that will likely be more than that. And more than the deficit is psychotic. And then $1.5 to $2.4 billion to subsidize it for every year after that is insane.
Yeah.
To come out and outright say, not doing it, when it was very popular, especially in that area where you need those votes.
Yeah.
Oh, at least do this. At least do the conservative thing. Where it's like, yeah, you're saying $90 billion. Let's farm that out.
Yeah.
To a private company and let's see what the actual quotes are and let's talk about that. Like,
it's dealing with a real issue for real people. Like I said, we were in Toronto the other day and the traffic is just, there's too many people there. The infrastructure cannot handle it. It was brutal. I was driving in the middle of the day, not even during rush hour, an hour and 40 minutes of traffic stuck bumper to bumper. It was just awful. So for something like that, it's like it affects people's time with their children and their family and their kids and getting home for dinner to be able to, it's not, some people commute often back and forth between these cities. And so anything to do with rail in that regard, it's like, yeah, I agree with you. There should have been a much wiser approach.
Carney announced, or Liberal government announced recently 200 and something million for specifically Toronto and their critical infrastructure to be upgraded. But you got 5 million people now right in the core there of Toronto. It's insane. 10 in the GTA. Solid points there, Josh. I think a couple issues I'd love to see him take stronger stances on too. I'd love them to talk a bit more about immigration and a little bit stronger stances on that. But it's just my personal opinion. Canada's got some big issues. And that's why I'm a big fan of Milton Friedman. I'm not sure if you've ever read some of his stuff. Obviously, he's amazing, or world-renowned economist. But the problem that we keep happening in Canada, when you have free markets and you have companies, they're incentivized by profit and loss. Government is not incentivized by profit and loss, right? They are completely incentivized by essentially bigger budgets, larger departments, and more control. And
self-preservation.
Yeah, and that continues to grow. These programs rarely shut down, and so you get yourself in a perpetual state. I don't even know if it's possible in Canada to get to a point where you can cut back bureaucracy and the people are generally okay with it. Because Bruce Pardy has made this argument that Canada is run by a bunch of cartels that do not want to give up how the system works, and it's incentivized to keep going. And my concern is how, as a political party, can you differentiate yourself where you're trying to almost break down the system that has got you into the position where we have to keep essentially printing money. We don't have new money coming in. This idea of government, big infrastructure projects that Carney announced and none are going to get done. Like we've got serious issues here of where government is the largest organization that is growing in our country, right? So that's a big, we're not going to answer that right now. But if someone can somehow communicate that and solve that within politics and have the people understand it, that is what's going to make a strong country. But
then I think this is generally should be talked about more is wealthier people, the correlation between wealth and happiness, and that we need to generate more affordability, lower cost of living, more affordable homes, like even just gas. Gas is approaching $2 here. I think it's actually $2 in a few parts in the country. It's outrageous. It's just, and so with that comes depression and loneliness and less social hangouts, less spending out of food and dining and dates, and like the domino effect is huge, and it has to improve.
Josh, in your neck of the woods, how is Prime Minister Carney received? He's looked as a centrist overall, right? And I find a lot of people are like, oh, he's doing a good job, and they don't really know the numbers, and they don't really know the underlining actions. They just see him doing his thing, having good interviews, or getting the middle powers to unite to fight against Trump. You know what I mean? All these things that people take at face value. What are you sensing, and what are you actually seeing for yourself?
What I see from here is Mark Carney, the way he's perceived here, at least in Halifax, is he is the way, the truth, and the life. No one can get to success unless it's through Mark Carney, baby. That's the reality here. People love Mark Carney out here. He's amazing. He's that's the question, because you brought up a good point there. Like, what has he done? What are his success? What are the success metrics looking like for this individual?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like it always comes back to is like, well, my favorite thing he's done is Davos. That was unreal. Oh, that was great. I was like, okay, cool. How did that improve your life, though?
Yes.
Well, I don't know, but it made me feel good. Like that's like it's kind of goes back to what happened, how he got elected, right? Was he made me feel good because he said bad things about Trump, but he's done nothing to improve your life, and that is where people are really struck at the moment where you really take some time here and look back at what's happened in the past year. And that's really another critical element that's going to have to be attacked by the Conservative Party if they want to start beating into this lead that they have. Is let's just like really take some time to reflect, like how, like we look at all the metrics.
Yeah.
Life has not improved in the past year, and the promises that Mark Carney's made have not come through. Quite frankly, Mark Carney was this close, guys. Like, let's talk about this. I just don't think this gets enough recognition or gets talked about enough. This guy, Mark Carney, was this close to fulfilling his number one promise during the election, which was get a deal with Trump. He was this close. Back in October, you remember this? Mm-hmm. All the news was coming out. Trump was talking about it. Carney was talking about it. The trade representatives were talking about it. Yeah, we're about to sign a deal. It's going to be awesome. Then Carney's like, hey, Ford, yeah, that commercial looks good. Throw it in. Why? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And it just sabotaged everything. And then they didn't talk to them for 4 months, essentially. I was like, that seems odd. Like, these are the questions you have to ask. Mm-hmm. And people don't know about it, though. Like, there's very few people that know that they were this close to a deal with Trump, the U.S. And the argument that typically comes back is like, well, they just can't, they can't agree on anything. Trump's just too crazy. I'm like, well, they were this close, apparently. So clearly there's something that would happen. Then they threw a commercial out there and it just ended everything. So you tell me what's going on. Yeah. And so it's a lot of it is required, especially if you're talking to your friends one-on-one with people, especially in this type of environment where, unfortunately, there's a lot of people where they're not friends because of their political beliefs, unfortunately. But there still are some of those out there. And those are the questions you have to ask, is ask reflective questions and be willing and be humble enough. Yeah. Have the humility to work with things with people if you want to see change. Yeah. And just work through. It's like, what has changed though? Like I'm genuinely struggling. I would love to see, I want to see us do well. Like I want to see Mark Carney succeed. I'm going to be quite frank. I want to see him succeed because if he succeeds, we succeed.
Totally.
But I'm just not seeing it. Can you point to me some things that he's been doing?
Yeah.
You know, and it's so easy for me to go off on like, you know, Bill C9 or Bill C22, Bill C8. I can go off on those things any day. However, that doesn't bring people closer together. we got to hit on the things that really bring us together and that's impacting all of us, which is the affordability. You hate the grocery prices. Oh, I hate the grocery prices. Yeah. How do we bring those down? So I think it's really leveling with people. I think it's really important to have those conversations right now.
That was beautifully said.
You made a great statement there. I want to see him succeed.
Yeah.
And that's going beyond partisan lines, right? There's people that will be so partisan, I don't want to see him succeed. It's like, no. We want to see Canada succeed. We want to see citizens succeed. We want to see our country being able to actually move ahead because we got the potential that Canada has is insane. There's no reason that we are in the position that we should be, except for poor leadership year over year over year. And it blows my mind that we're still in this position.
I couldn't care less who's in office. You nailed it on the head. Yeah. Like we just want to see a better country where people can live better lives.
But he was heading a direction that goes to at the crux of it. It comes down to, when we mentioned this pre-show, this idea of echo chambers, of being able to have good conversations of where you can analyze each individual action on its merit, criticize things that aren't being good, an educated population, which involves us having good conversations. If we agree to disagree, so be it. It is. We should both bring valuable points to the table. Maybe we can learn something from each other, help each other shift our point of view slightly if you are. If you're not, then best ideas will win. But that's when you have an educated populace and people who care more about things that actually affect our country and not just their fantasy football, right? Which actually does not affect your Monday, but people spend so much time on that, although we do fantasy hockey. But the point is, our Bill C9, being educated on issues like that actually affects our Monday.
Yeah.
That actually affects what our lives are like.
Totally.
And it's just somehow these conversations that we keep having them, we have to get back where people know what they're doing, understand at least a little bit what's going on. And anyways, that's why I appreciate what you're doing, Josh, because you're helping, like you said at the beginning of the show, if you can help people feel understood a bit more, you educate them a bit more, they're not alone, that's going to help this overall proverbial dining room conversation that we all have as Canadians, which can hopefully help steer the ship.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to jump onto that you said was that when people stop becoming friends with people who are on the other side of the aisle, then it enhances the echo chamber, as you're saying, and we get further and further, and then we don't have conversations, and we are more polarized than ever. You were going to say something, sorry, I interrupt you.
Yeah, well, two things actually I want to add on to that too, where I think that it was funny because I remember I was in Calgary and that was the reaction people had to me living in Halifax was, ooh, that's tough. That's a sea of red over there. But it's something for me, one or two things for me. I love fighting. Like, I love clawing it out. Like, let's go, let's have a battle. Yep. Like I'm like, I just don't, people have told me, you should come to Alberta, like be with people that think like you. And I was like, I hear you. I get it. There's a comfortability to that 100%. However, I can't leave that fight, dude. Yeah. I have to stay here. Like, we have to have this conversation. We have to keep pushing forward until it's physically just untenable for me to live here anymore. I will keep staying here and I'll keep fighting until I can't anymore.
Good, man. Love it.
And because I think that's one benefit I have living here is out of all my friend groups, I may have like one friend group that's pretty conservative, but all my friend groups are liberal. And we have these conversations and we bat things around, and it allows me to kind of have a more understanding of where people are coming from.
Yeah.
And be like, I still disagree with 100% your conclusion on that. However, it allows me to, as I'm doing a show that primarily talks to conservative individuals who may not be able to talk to these people that often. It's like, hey, this is what they're saying, what they're thinking. I think it's something to consider as we try to engage them in this process. I think it's really important. The second thing I wanted to add was Michael Ma was a gift sent from the gods, because I was stunned when that first came out, when he did what he did in committee and berated that witness. Or, oh, are you sure you haven't seen it before, have you? All that happened.
Yeah. Short answers, please. Short answers, please.
Yeah,
right?
yes or no.
Yes or no. Yeah. And so that whole thing took place. I remember just being stunned. I was like, of course, like we knew this. We knew there's some degree of connection to the CCP when all this went down, when he crossed the floor and all this. People ripped me to shreds when I wrote that on social media. I was like, dude, CCP had something to do with this. You're racist. I was like, okay, sounds good. Great argument. And we continue. I kept pushing that question though, as he crossed the floor. And this thing whole took place in committee. And I honestly, truly believed the media was going to bury it. I thought it was going to get buried. No. That took headlines, baby. I was like, whoa. And people are still talking about it. And these are the wins I think we should really just revel in and continue to push. I'm like, because If that's in the headlines, people are talking about it.
Yeah.
And people know that, then you can gives you another avenue to bring things up and see where things are going and how things have been essentially trending in this country.
Wow. No, that's actually really cool because that's something I haven't, that's a really good point. I haven't become aware of the fact that that is a trend that's happening because it just hasn't been. They've burnt the bridges so many times that I've stopped looking at their headlines. I stopped going, and maybe you're right. We have to keep looking so we can understand if it's objective reporting or not. But it's a good point.
Well, we're going to wrap pretty soon. We got to shut her down here in a second, but just to close on that thought about having the conversations. Good on you, man, for being in that environment. A lot of people aren't willing to. People love the idea of comfort and just give me my people that think the same as me and have the same beliefs and views. And you know what? Like, that doesn't actually help us in our democracy, because the idea of democracy is that we think different and we should be able to go back and forth and have this idea of the best ideas rise to the top. So good on you for that, man. I think that's very commendable. It is important. My message, I think it's important for all of us to surround ourselves with people that think different than us, to understand both sides of the argument. If all we're doing is repeating headlines of people that think the same, and we actually don't understand the underlying thoughts or what the opposing thoughts are, we don't understand the topic fully. And that is exactly what we have to get back to. We got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in conversations. And that's what you and I strive to do. A lot of times, you and I will just play devil's advocate with each other for the sake of it. Or if we disagree, we'll hash it out and go for it. But that is what actually helps you understand issues way more. Because the more and more I engage and I seek to engage people that think different or actually know more than me in certain topics, it's amazing what my eyes are opened up to. It's like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. Or that's actually, you know what, you have some validity on that point, right? Or, you know what, maybe there is a little bit of good that the Liberal government is doing, right? There are good aspects to it. People think that, and vice versa. So,
well, even the exercise, and again, like you said, I don't mean to open up another can of worms, but to try to defend a position you don't believe in. Remember we used to have to do that in school? Where they would assign, we had this like parliament we used to do in our school, and you were given the topic and you had to defend it. And I remember it being so painful and so frustrated.
Youth Parliament, man.
Yeah, Youth Parliament was so good. But that exercise is an amazing exercise to do. I challenge people at home to do that. Find something you disagree with and go, okay, for the exercise, if I had to believe in it, how could I defend it? You're stepping into people's shoes. You're gonna put yourself in their position. You're gonna have empathy for the human being on the other side of this policy. And I highly recommend doing it.
I remember just making the most ridiculous arguments against the other side. Like, because I remember talking about bird flu or something, and I had this elaborate story that it was ridiculous. So fun though, but you learn how to argue.
That was good.
Josh, you mentioned you like the fight. Hey, we're gonna have to, for next time we have you back on, whether it's in person or you're in Calgary, we'll do it a little more prep. Today we're just kind of chatting and hanging, and let's find the topic that we disagree on.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And let's just hash it out. Let's show people how to actually hash it out. All of us will come prepped, and we'll just go for it. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, it'd be a blast.
Yeah, that'd be super good.
Stuff. Yeah, it'd be great.
We're gonna end the show with our next one, all of us storming off because we're so mad at each other. That's the idea.
The best part is in studio with you, so it'd be even better.
No, well, that's the thing.
That'd be great.
You have to make it happen in studio. Yeah. So, well, it's great having you, dude.
Thanks for joining us, Josh.
New friends of the show. We'll have you back. We'll have to keep this conversation going. So good.
100%. Really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the time.
How can people follow you with what you're doing?
You can follow me everywhere. We got Facebook, Instagram, X. I gave up on TikTok, but we're still there. On YouTube, the Elevate Report, spelled as it sounds. We try our best to fill you in on what's going on from a conservative lens, but try to be fair as best we can.
Beautiful.
Love it, man.
Well, thanks, guys, for hanging with us. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the long weekend. We'll be back next week. The show goes on.